The rain hammered the window like it had a grudge, each drop a tiny accusation against the life I'd built in this cramped Seattle apartment. I stared at the manila envelope on my kitchen table, my hands trembling as I tore it open, the paper slicing my thumb like a promise of more pain to come. Inside, my medical files spilled out, not just the sterile printouts of blood work and diagnoses, but yellow sticky notes in a stranger's neat script, peeling back layers of me I'd buried deeper than my father's grave. Levi, your vitals are stabilizing, but your heart's telling a different story. Ever think about rewriting the ending? Mason. I crumpled the note, heat flooding my face. But it wasn't anger, it was recognition. Dr. Mason Hale, the guy next door who'd patched me up after that bar fight 2 months ago. The one with the easy smile and eyes like smoked whiskey. He'd been my reluctant savior that night, stitching a gash on my forehead while I slurred apologies for bleeding on his couch. Now this, scribbles in my files like he owned my goddamn narrative. I should have thrown it all away. Instead, I spread the pages across the table, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead like a swarm of doubts. My chart read like a tragedy in bullet points. Chronic anxiety, elevated cortisol from unresolved trauma, a family history of heart disease that skipped my dad but nailed me with panic attacks at 28. And there, in the margins, more notes. Not clinical jargon questions. What scares you most about letting someone in? Remember that hike in the Cascades? You mentioned it once. Go back there. How the hell did he know about the hike? I'd mumbled it during the exam, half-drugged on painkillers, the words slipping out like a confession. The apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in with the scent of damp coffee grounds and regret. I'd moved to Capitol Hill 3 years ago to escape the Bible Belt chokehold of my Tennessee childhood, where faggot was whispered like a curse and love was a sin you confessed on Sundays. Here, in the shadow of the Space Needle, I thought I could rewrite myself, freelance graphic designer by day, ghost at dive bars by night. But the files laughed at that illusion. Mason's notes were gentle intrusions, probing the cracks I'd sealed with sarcasm and solitude. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I almost ignored it, but the rain's rhythm urged me otherwise. Hey, Levi, it's Mason. From next door. Did the files make it okay? No spoilers, but I might have overcaffeinated while editing. His voice was warm, laced with that Pacific Northwest drawl that made everything sound like an invitation to hike or brew craft beer. I gripped the phone, the cut on my thumb throbbing. Editing? You mean meddling? Document. A chuckle. Low and unhurried. Call it collaborative storytelling. You gonna sue me? Or grab coffee downstairs? My treat, for the unauthorized annotations. I hung up without answering, but 10 minutes later, I was in the lobby, shaking rain from my hair, the envelope tucked under my arm like contraband. Mason waited by the mailboxes, tall and lean in a flannel shirt rolled to his elbows, his dark curls damp and wild. He was 35, maybe, with laugh lines that deepened when he spotted me, holding 2 steaming cups from the corner roastery. Black, 2 sugars, he said, handing one over. Guessed from the takeout bags I see in your trash. Creepy much, but I took it, the warmth seeping into my palms, mirroring the reluctant spark in my chest. We sat on the worn leather couch in the lobby, the kind that smelled like old novels and forgotten resolutions. He didn't push, just nodded at the envelope. I know it's weird, but after that night, the fight, the way you talked in your sleep about not being enough, I couldn't just sign off on the labs and send you home. You're my neighbor, Levi. And honestly, your stories got plot holes bigger than the Grand Canyon. I sipped the coffee, bitter and bold, buying time. What? Like my ex dumping me for a straight-laced accountant? Or my mom mailing me pamphlets on reparative therapy last Christmas? That's not plot holes. That's the American dream for guys like me. Mason's eyes held mine, steady as the evergreens outside. Nah. That's the backstory. But the hero? He's still drafting his arc. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, and for a second, the air between us hummed with something unspoken, vulnerability, maybe, or the first thread of a connection neither of us had scripted. That coffee turned into a walk in the downpour, umbrellas forgotten, our shoulders brushing as we dodged puddles on Pine Street. He talked about his shifts at Harborview, the ER chaos that mirrored his own messy divorce from med school sweethearts who couldn't handle his long hours. I admitted the bar fight was over a guy who looked too much like my high school crush, the one who'd outed me to the whole town after a fumbling kiss behind the bleachers. By the time we circled back to our building, soaked and laughing, the files felt less like a violation and more like a map. "Keep the notes," Mason said at the elevator, water dripping from his lashes. "Or burn them. Your call. But if you ever want a co-author." Doors open. I watched him step out on 5, my heart pounding not from anxiety, but from the terrifying possibility that someone saw the real me and didn't run. The next morning, sunlight pierced the clouds like a hesitant apology, and I found myself flipping through the files again. One note caught my eye, tucked into a psych eval I'd faked my way through last year. "Levi, trauma isn't a tattoo, it's a draft. You can edit." I grabbed my sketch pad, the one gathering dust since college, and doodled a rough outline. A man standing at a crossroads, one path lined with shadows, the other blooming with improbable wildflowers. It was crap, but it was mine. Days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Mason's notes became our secret language, slipped under doors or left in shared mailboxes. "Saw you sketching in the park. What's the hero fighting for now?" I'd reply with a doodle taped to his door, a stick figure doctor wielding a stethoscope like a sword. Our encounters were accidental on purpose, bumping into each other at the Pike Place Market, where he'd haggle for salmon and I'd mock his tourist bargaining. Or late-night porch chats, the city lights twinkling like distant confessions. One evening, as fog rolled in from Elliott Bay, he invited me over for research. His apartment was a mirror to mine, bookshelves sagging under medical journals and dog-eared sci-fi, a guitar propped in the corner like a shy guest. But where mine echoed with emptiness, his hummed with life. A half-dead fern on the windowsill, photos of backpacking trips pinned crookedly to the fridge. "All right, co-author," he said, pouring us whiskey neat, maker's mark, smooth as a southern drawl. "Your turn. What's the inciting incident? The thing that kicks off the whole damn plot?" I swirled the glass, the amber liquid catching the lamplight. Honesty burned in my throat. 18. Prom night. I kissed Tommy Hale, ironic. "Same last name as you. Huh. In the parking lot." He freaked, told everyone. Dad found out, called me an abomination. Mom just cried. I left for Seattle with $200 and a bus ticket. End of Act 1. Mason listened, not with pity, but that quiet intensity surgeons save for open wounds. "And the villain? Still chasing you? Every mirror, every bad date." I set the glass down, voice cracking. Guys see the scar, literal and not, and bolt. Like I'm a plot twist they didn't sign up for. He reached across the coffee table, his hand covering mine, calluses from guitar strings rough against my skin. Then they weren't readers worth keeping. Levi, your story's not a tragedy. It's a slow burn. And I'm here for the next chapter. That touch lingered, electric and unhurried, pulling me into a gaze that stripped away the defenses I'd armored myself with. We didn't kiss, not yet. But as he walked me to the door, the air thick with unsaid promises, I realized Mason wasn't just rewriting my files. He was cracking open the book of me, page by yellowed page. Weeks slipped by like pages in a well-worn paperback, each one dog-eared with moments that felt too fragile to trust. Mason's notes evolved from clinical nudges to personal provocations. Levi, that sketch of the crossroads? Frame it. Heroes need reminders. I'd find them wedged in my door jamb, sometimes with a ticket stub to an indie film at the Varsity Theater, for plot development. 7 p.m. sharp. Our first real date, if that's what you call it, wasn't flowers and candlelight, but a hike up Rattlesnake Ledge. The trailhead just a ferry ride from Seattle. He picked me up at dawn, thermos of black coffee in hand, his truck rumbling like a reluctant admission. No notes today, he said, grinning as we crossed the water to the east side. Just us. And maybe a rattlesnake or two for drama. The path wound steep through evergreens, ferns brushing our calves like whispered secrets. I lagged at first, lungs burning from neglect, but Mason matched my pace, pointing out Devil's Club bushes. Touch that, and you'll regret it more than a bad sequel. And the way sunlight filtered through the canopy like hope after rain. At the ledge, the world dropped away, Lake Sammamish glittering below, the Cascades jagged on the horizon, a bald eagle wheeling lazy circles overhead. We ate peanut butter sandwiches on a rock outcrop, legs dangling over the void. This is where I come when the R chews me up, Mason confessed, wiping crumbs from his chin. Divorce papers hit last year. She said I was married to the job. Maybe she was right. But up here, perspective. I nodded, the wind tugging at my hoodie. My hikes were escapes. After Dad's funeral, heart attack at 52. Irony's a bitch. I drive aimlessly, end up in the Smokies. Felt like if I climbed high enough, I could outrun the guilt. Like loving men was the arrhythmia that killed him. Mason turned, his profile sharp against the blue expanse. Grief's a thief, Levi. Steals the plot and leaves you with ghosts. But look at that view. Your dad's not in the rear view anymore. He's part of the landscape. We sat in silence then, shoulders touching, the eagle's cry echoing our unspoken truce. On the descent, my ankle twisted on a root, nothing major, but enough for him to kneel, hands steady as he wrapped it with a bandana from his pack. Doc's orders. Lean on me. His fingers lingered on my calf, warm through the denim, and when our eyes met, the air crackled with the kind of tension that births sonnets or storms. Back in the city, that hike seeded something deeper. Our evenings stretched. Cooking disasters in his kitchen, burnt risotto, endless laughter. Open mic nights at the Tractor Tavern where he'd strum originals about lost chords and found harmonies. And I'd sketch the crowd, capturing his profile in stolen glances. He met my cynicism with quiet challenges. What's one risk you'd take if failure wasn't an option? And slowly, the walls I'd built from Tennessee timber began to splinter. But cracks invite floods. One drizzly Tuesday, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Alex. Miss you. Coffee? For old time's sake. My ex, the accountant who'd traded our shared loft for a picket fence in the suburbs, convinced our differences meant his closet was too tight for two. I'd blocked him after the screaming match, the one where he called my drama the reason he couldn't commit. Now this, a ghost in my inbox, dredging up the betrayal that had me punching walls and strangers. I showed Mason that night, sprawled on his couch with takeout faux steaming between us. He's back. Like a bad plot device. Mason read the thread, his jaw tightening just a fraction. What do you want to do? Tell him to fuck off. But my voice wavered. The old ache surfacing. Alex had been my first real try at normal. The guy who'd promised forever until the neighbors raised eyebrows. Mason set his bowl aside, pulling me into a hug that smelled of lemongrass and certainty. Then do it. But not alone. We drafted the reply together. Polite. Final. A door slammed with kindness. As I hit send, his arm around my shoulders felt like an anchor, steadying the sway. That vulnerability unlocked more. I told him about the pamphlets from Mom, the ones preaching change is possible, with smiling testimonials from healed sons. She loves me, in her way. But it's conditional. Like my heart on those files, functional, but flagged. He traced circles on my back. Voice soft. Love shouldn't come with footnotes. Levi. Yours doesn't have to. Our first kiss happened unscripted. On his balcony under a canopy of stars smudged by city glow. We'd been debating plot twists, his vote for redemption arcs, mine for gritty realism, when laughter faded into quiet. He cupped my face, thumb brushing that scar on my jaw, the one from a homophobic slur turned fist. You're the twist I didn't see coming, he murmured, and then his lips met mine, tentative at first, tasting of mint and possibility, deepening into a promise that neither of us could rewrite alone. In the afterglow, wrapped in a blanket against the chill, doubts crept in like fog off the sound. Was this real? Or just another chapter I'd regret? Mason sensed it, pressing a kiss to my temple. No notes needed tonight. Just this. But life, that relentless editor, had other plans. A week later, during a double shift, Mason collapsed in the ER, exhaustion, dehydration. The job's toll finally cashed in. I got the call at 2 a.m., heart slamming as I raced to Harborview, the sterile halls blurring into nightmares of loss. He was pale under the fluorescence, for dripping steady, but his eyes lit when he saw me. Hey, hero. Bad timing for a cliffhanger. I gripped his hand, the monitors beeping our fragile rhythm. You scared the shit out of me, Doc. Who's rewriting who now? A weak grin. Team effort. But as nurses bustled, a chart on his bedside table caught my eye. His own files, flagged with unresolved stress. Relational isolation post-divorce. No notes from me, but the irony stung. We'd both been drafting in the dark. Discharged the next day, he leaned on me for the drive home. Our roles reversed. In his apartment, I tucked him in, brewing tea like he'd done for me post-fight. Rest, I ordered, echoing his scripts. Plot builds slow, as he drifted off, hand in mine. I wondered if our story could sustain the weight, or if the next twist would tear the binding. Fall draped Seattle in amber and rust, the leaves crunching underfoot like brittle memories as Mason and I navigated the uncharted territory of us. His collapse had been a wake-up call, a red line slashed through our casual co-authoring. We carved out intentional space, Sunday farmers markets at the U District, where he'd quiz vendors on heirloom apples while I photographed the chaos. Quiet drives to Alki Beach, watching freighters ghost across Puget Sound. Our silences comfortable as well-worn flannel. But intimacy bred exposure, and with it, the ghosts I'd thought exorcised. Alex didn't vanish after one text. He escalated, emails laced with nostalgia. Remember our road trip to Olympic? We could try again, each one a hook in old wounds. I deleted them, but the poison seeped. Doubts about my baggage. Whispers that Mason, with his steady career and easy charm, deserved unscarred pages. One crisp October evening, after a volunteer shift at the local LGBTQ center, where I'd started facilitating art therapy for queer youth, Mason surprised me with tickets to a reading at Elliott Bay Book Company. The author, a poet from the South like me, spun verses about queer cartographies, mapping desire on forbidden terrain. We sat in the back, thighs pressed together, his hand tracing idle patterns on my knee under the table. Afterward, over ciders at a nearby pub, the words lingered. That line about betrayed by the body you inherit hit home? Mason asked, his gaze soft in the low light. I nodded, swirling the foam. Yeah. Like my heart files, flawed blueprint from Dad's side. But you make me want to redraw it. His smile was a sunrise, slow and sure. Good. Because I'm all in, Levi. No edits. That night, in my apartment for the first time, we crossed into deeper waters. Not rushed, but reverent. Hands exploring with the care of archivists handling first editions, whispers mapping scars and sighs. It was connection, raw and redemptive, the kind that stitches souls without a single suture. Morning brought coffee and clarity, but also intrusion. A knock at the door, insistent, unfamiliar. I wrapped a sheet around my waist, peering through the peephole. Alex, disheveled in a rumpled button-down, eyes red-rimmed like he'd driven straight from suburbia. Levi, please. Just talk. His voice cracked, muffled through the wood. Mason stirred behind me, but I waved him back, heart jackhammering. I cracked the door, chain still latched. What the hell? Alex, I said we're done. He leaned in, breath sour with desperation. I know. But seeing your posts, hearing about this new guy, I made a mistake. Therapy, the wife, it's all bullshit. I love you. We fit. The word fit twisted like a knife, echoing the rejection that had shattered me. You chose safe over us. Now leave. He didn't. Words tumbled, promises of change, tears streaking his face, until Mason appeared, shirtless and steady, arms sliding around my waist. Time to go, man. He's not interested. Alex's gaze flicked between us, hardening into something ugly. You, the neighbor, Levi, he's just a rebound. Doctors like him, they collect strays. Mason's grip tightened, but his voice stayed even. Out. Now. Alex lingered a beat, then stormed off, the stairwell echoing his retreat. I slammed the door, sliding down it, the sheet pooling like surrender. Mason knelt, pulling me close. You okay? No. He was my anchor. Until he wasn't. Sobs came unbidden, the dam breaking on years of deferred grief. Mason held me through it, rocking gently. Anchors sink ships sometimes. You deserve a lighthouse. We spent the day in bed, Not making love but making peace. Sharing stories of first heartbreaks. His from a college fling that ghosted after coming out. Mine from Tommy's betrayal. By dusk, the sting faded, replaced by a fierce gratitude for Mason's unflinching presence, for the way he saw my fractures not as flaws, but as facets. But betrayal's shadow lengthened. A week later, during a routine check-in at Harborview, Mason's colleague pulled me aside in the waiting room. Levi, Dr. Hale's chart saw you listed as emergency contact. Good. But heads up, he's dodging his own follow-ups. Post-collapse, his numbers are off. Stress markers through the roof. I frowned, the words landing like misplaced punctuation. He's fine. We're fine. The doc, Elena, sharp-eyed and no nonsense, shook her head. He's a healer, not invincible. And that ex of his, the one who filed for divorce, she's circling back. Saw her in his office yesterday. All tears and second chances. Watch him. Okay. Love blinds us to the revisions. Her warning echoed as I drove home, rain sheeting the windshield. That night, over dinner, pad thai from the spot on Broadway, Mason seemed distant, checking his phone more than usual. Everything good? I asked, fork pausing mid-air. Yeah, just work. But his smile didn't reach his eyes. Later, as we cleared plates, his phone buzzed again. He glanced, then silenced it. X, he admitted finally, when I pressed. Claire. Wants to talk logistics, house stuff. Nothing more. I wanted to believe him, but Elena's words gnawed. You sure? Elena mentioned. Colleagues gossip. He cut in, sharper than intended, then softened. Sorry. There's nothing, Levi. Promise. We made up in the sheets. Bodies bridging the gap, but sleep evaded me. In the dark, I replayed Alex's venom, he collects strays, and wondered if I was just another case file for Mason. Notes scribbled in margins until a better story came along. The doubt festered, subtle as Seattle mist. I threw myself into work, landing a gig designing logos for a queer-owned bookstore, sketches blooming with reclaimed narratives. Mason noticed the distance, countering with gestures. A playlist of our songs left on my doorstep, mixtape style. A weekend getaway to the San Juans, ferrying to Orcas Island where we kayaked emerald waters, seals bobbing like buoyant encouragements. There, under a quilt of stars on a driftwood beach, he proposed a pact. No more ghosts. We write forward together, his hand in mine, ringless but resolute, as waves lapped our feet. I agreed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of salt and surrender. But back in the city, reality intruded like an uninvited subplot. Claire's calls escalated. I overheard one, her voice pleading through the wall. Mason, we were good. He can't fix what's broken in you. My stomach knotted. Jealousy? Fear? The line blurred. Then, the blow, a sticky note, not from Mason, but slipped under my door in Claire's looping script, snatched from his trash perhaps. Ask him about the notes he kept from her. He's still editing your story to match his regrets. Heart in throat. I confronted him that night, note trembling in my fist. What's this mean? Are you using me to rewrite her? His face crumpled, denial dying on his lips. Levi, no, Claire's desperate. Those notes? Old journal entries. Nothing. Show me. The demand hung heavy. He hesitated, then pulled a box from his closet. Faded notebooks, pages filled with scribbles about lost love, dreams of a family that never materialized. After the divorce, I wrote to process. When I met you, felt like a new volume. But yeah, echoes. I'm sorry if it bleeds through. The admission cracked something in me, not irreparably, but enough to question the binding. Am I your redemption arc, Mason, or just the next draft? You're you, he whispered, reaching. The story I want to live. I stepped back, the space between us a chasm. I need time to read between the lines. That night, alone in my apartment, I burned Alex's emails and Claire's note in the sink, the flames flickering like faulty faith. But the ashes lingered, a reminder that every rewrite risks erasure. November's chill seeped into the bones of the city, turning breaths to visible confessions as I navigated the rift with Mason. We didn't break, not officially, but the easy flow stuttered, conversations laced with pauses heavy as unsent manuscripts. I'd catch him in the hallway, as hopeful, but I'd mumble excuses, deadlines, doubts, the freelance grind that kept me buried in pixels and pretense. The queer center became my refuge, those art sessions a balm for the kids' raw edges and mine. One boy, Jamie, 16 and fresh from a foster bounce, sketched a fractured mirror reflecting a whole self. It's like, the pieces don't fit back, he said, charcoal smudging his fingers. But maybe they don't have to. Just rearrange. His words echoed as I trudged home, rain a relentless underscore. Mason's door loomed, light spilling under like an olive branch. I knocked, unscripted, the box of his notebooks clutched like evidence. He opened in sweats, surprise softening to relief. Levi. Come in, tea? Or whiskey? Your call. Truth. I thrust the box forward. I read them. All of it. The parts about her laugh. The house you dreamed of. Kids with her eyes. And then, me. Echoes, you said. But it feels like I'm filling blanks she left. Mason sank onto the couch, gesturing me beside him. No defensiveness, just weariness. Sit. Please. I did, the cushions dipping us closer. He opened the top notebook, pages yellowed like old prescriptions. Claire and I. We were young. Med school grind. Promises we couldn't keep. She wanted the white picket version. I wanted to save the world, one patient at a time. The notes? Therapy homework. What do you miss? What do you rewrite? When we split, it gutted me. Thought love was a finite draft. Once burned, gone. His finger traced a line. Her absence is a blank page. Afraid to write alone. Then, later entries. Post me. Levi's scar tells stories Claire never heard. His laugh rewrites silence. I swallowed, throat tight. So I'm the palimpsest? Erasing her for something new? No. Firm, eyes locking mine. You're the unbound edition. Fresh ink, no erasures. Yeah. Patterns linger, trust issues, fear of loss. But with you, it's not replacement. It's revelation. We talked till midnight, voices weaving through the hurt, my fears of being the gay mistake, his of repeating relational neglect. By the end, tears streaked us both, but so did tentative touches, fingers interlacing, a forehead press that spoke volumes. Forgive the mess, he murmured. Only if we co-edit from now on. My lips brushed his, sealing the pact. Reconciliation bloomed fragile but fierce. We instituted note nights, weekly rituals where we'd share unfiltered journals. No judgments, just ink and empathy. Mine spilled Tennessee ghosts. Dad's unspoken disapproval. Mom's conditional cards. Proud of your art. Son, keep praying. His revealed ER horrors. Kids lost to overdoses. Lovers parted by illness. And the quiet joy of stitching lives back, including mine. Holiday lights twinkled early on Capitol Hill. Strings of bulbs mocking my Scrooge heart. But Mason dragged me to the Jingle Bell Run, a charity 5K for youth shelters, our breath puffing in tandem as we jogged past festooned storefronts. At the finish, medals around our necks, he pulled me under a mistletoe archway, fake, but fervent, the kiss public and unapologetic, drawing cheers from runners in elf ears. Merry plot twist, he grinned, snowflakes melting on his lashes. Homebound, we baked gingerbread, disastrously, dough sticking like bad metaphors, but the laughter filled voids. That night, tangled in sheets scented with pine from our scavenged tree, I whispered, "This feels like Act 2. The build. His arm tightened around me. Best part. Where stakes rise, but so does the heart. Yet stakes do rise. Unbidden. Christmas Eve. My phone rang, Mom's number. A rarity since the pamphlets. Levi? Honey. I'm coming to Seattle. For you. To understand. Shock rooted me, Mason's hand squeezing mine as I stammered acceptance. She arrived Christmas morning, bundled in a wool coat too heavy for the mild drizzle, her face lined with the miles of regret unsaid. We met at a diner on First Avenue, formica tables scarred like old arguments. Mason waited outside, giving space, but his presence loomed supportive. Mom stirred her tea, eyes darting to the rainbow flag on the wall. Your father. He never knew how to say it. But he loved you. Fierce. The heart thing? It wasn't blame. It was fear. Words I'd craved. Served lukewarm. Then why the silence? The pray it away? She winced, folding napkin into pleats. Ignorance. Church poison. But seeing your sketches online, the center, the kids, I see you healing. And this Mason. He looks at you like Dad looked at me. Rare. Tears pricked. Forgiveness isn't a switch, but a slow thaw. We hugged awkwardly, her perfume unchanged, lavender and longing, and she left with a promise. No more footnotes, son. Just chapters. Elation warred with unease. Back home, Mason enveloped me, but his phone buzzed incessantly. Claire again. Voicemails pleading one last talk. I pretended not to notice, but the undercurrent pulled. New Year's dawned crisp. Fireworks bursting over the sound like defiant declarations. We watched from his balcony, champagne flutes clinking. To us, he toasted. Unrevised, but revisions loomed. A week into January, Elena cornered me at the hospital cafe. Mason's spiraling. Pulled him from a surgery, hands shaking. And Claire? She's not backing off. Threatening legal over the house. But it's emotional warfare. Says he owes her closure. My gut twisted. He'd tell me. Would he? Men like us we protect. Even when it poisons. She slid me a file copy. Unofficial, his stress logs spiking. Entries scrawled. Levi deserves steady. Am I? Doubt resurfaced. Sharper. That night, Confrontation brewed over stir-fry. Claire, how bad is it? He paused, chopsticks hovering. Manageable. Lawyers handling. Or hiding. I pushed the printout across the table. Found this. Elena worries. I worry. Betrayal flickered in his eyes. Not mine, but the accusations sting. You went behind my back? To protect us. Like you protect patients, half-truths don't heal. The argument escalated. Words as weapons, my snooping, his evasions. Plates clattered. Voices rose till neighbors thumped walls. Maybe we're both drafts too rough, I hurled, storming out into the sleet. Alone in my apartment, the silence screamed. I rifled my files, his old notes mocking. Rewrite the ending, but whose ending? Ours fracturing like cheap binding. Dawn brought a truce note under my door, his script. Steady. Coffee? No edits. Just us. I went, hearts raw but reaching. Over lattes at Lupanier, apologies flowed. I hid because I feared losing you, he admitted. Claire's grasping at phantoms. But you're real. Forgive my distrust? I echoed. Always. Hands clasped across the table. We recommitted therapy for him. Transparency for us. But fate, that cruel copy editor, had a red pen ready. February's chill deepened when Mason's beeper shattered a rare quiet morning. Mass casualty from a ferry collision. He left in a blur. Promising call. Hours stretched. Then Elena's text. Stable, but he's in surgery. His own. Complication from the collapse, appendix burst. Routine. But routine. The word mocked as I paced Harborview halls, the antiseptic tang choking me. When they wheeled him out, groggy and gauzed, his first words slurred. Heroes not. Supposed to save the doctor. I laughed through tears, kissing his knuckles. Team effort. Remember, recovery bonded us tighter. Me playing nurse with jello and bad jokes. But in quiet moments, Claire's shadow loomed. Flowers arrived, and signed but scented with her perfume. Tell her we're done, he rasped, tossing them. I did, via voicemail, firm, final. Yet unease simmered. Was this the calm before the climax? Or just borrowed pages? Spring teased Seattle with tentative blooms. Cherry blossoms dusting Capitol Hill like confetti from a half-hearted parade. As Mason mended, his apartment a nest of get-well cards and my half-assed soups. We leaned into the limbo, days measured in small victories. His first unassisted steps across the living room. My first gallery pitch for the center's youth art show landing a yes. See? He'd tease. Crutches propped like conquered foes. Plots turning, but turning invites turbulence. Claire's retreat was illusory. She ambushed us at a park picnic near Green Lake, materializing from the cherry grove like a plot device from a noir thriller. Sundress fluttering, eyes puffy from nights alone. She clutched a manila envelope, ironic echo of my files. Mason, please. 5 minutes. Her gaze slid to me, cool appraisal. Alone. He stiffened beside me on the blanket, cherry stems crunching underfoot. Claire, we've danced this. Lawyers have the script. For the house? Fine. But us. She thrust the envelope. Read it. Then decide if he's worth the rewrite. I snatched it before he could. Ripping open, photos, emails his, from years back, tender missives to her, my forever draft. Buried deeper, a draft letter, undated, to the one after vague yearnings for a love that fits without forcing pages. My name nowhere, but the subtext screamed, placeholder. Levi, Mason started, but rage boiled over. Is this why the notes? Practicing on me? I hurled the photos into the grass, picnickers glancing our way. Claire smirked, venom veiled. Told you. He collects stories, not endings. Mason surged up, crutch clattering. Enough, Claire. You're grieving what was. But Levi's now. Go. She left with a parting shot. Call when the ink fades. Her heels clicking retreat. We sat in stunned silence, petals swirling like accusations. Home. The fight reignited, hotter than spring sun. You kept that letter? After everything. It was catharsis, per you, he paced, wincing. Buried relic. Like your Alex emails. Low blow. I grabbed my jacket. Maybe we need a break. To check if this is love or just editing. The door slammed behind me, echoing to my apartment. Sleepless. I scrolled old sketches, us on the ledge, kayaks in the sound, each stroke a plea for belief. Dawn found me at the center, Jamie's fractured mirror staring back. Rearrange. Don't discard. Mason's knock came at noon, face haggard. Don't quit the book halfway. He held his own manila, all notebooks, photos, letters, shredded confetti. Burned the doubts. With you or without, but please with. Tears blurred. I pulled him in, crutches and all. Co-authors don't bail. But no more closets for either of us. We rebuilt deliberate, joint therapy sessions at a queer-affirming clinic, where we unpacked love languages twisted by loss. His acts of service, stitching wounds literal and not. Mine, words of affirmation, notes that named the unspoken. Claire faded to legal footnotes, her final email a curt move on that felt like release. Summer swelled, humid and hopeful. We road-tripped the Oregon coast, Highway 101 unspooling like a choose-your-adventure. Cannon Beach haystacks at sunset, his head on my shoulder as waves crashed symphonies. Ecola State Park hikes, wildflowers nodding approval. In a seaside cabin, rain lashing windows, we wrote vows not marriage, but mutual. I see your scars, and choose the story they tell. Back in Seattle, the center's art show opening was our milestone. My designs framed the gallery walls, youth works pulsing with color, Jamie's mirror centerpiece, reflecting a mosaic whole. Mason stood beside me in a button-down I'd ironed. Miracle. His hand at my low back as patrons murmured praise. You did this, he whispered, pride warm as the wine. But pride swelled solo when Mom called mid-event. Saw the online pics. Levi. Proud, unconditionally. Bring that doctor home sometime. The invite hung sweet. A bridge from Tennessee to here. Later, under gallery lights, Mason pulled me to a corner. Marry me? Not today. But plot it with me? Heart stuttered, not fear, but yes. Rewrite the ending together. Elation crested, but climaxes demand conflict. August heat wave baked the city. Air conditioners humming dirges as Mason's shifts intensified. Air overflow from wildfires choking the cascades. Exhaustion etched him, but a new shadow emerged. Tremors in his hands, subtle at first, dismissed as fatigue. Stress, he insisted over late-night tacos, fingers fumbling a napkin. Like your anxiety spikes, but Elena's consult confirmed suspicions. Early Parkinson's, familial, his mother's silent thief, striking young. Manageable, she said in her office, charts splayed like battle plans. Meds, therapy. But progressive. Mason absorbed it stoic. But home, he shattered, glass shattering against the wall, sobs wrenching. I fix people, Levi. Not this. I held him on the kitchen floor, shards glittering like fallen stars. Then we fixed together. Your notes saved me. Let me return the favor. Denial raged. Canceled therapy. Buried files. I countered with persistence, driving him to specialists, cooking dopamine-boosting meals, salmon-heavy, sketching us as explorers charting unknown trails. Not a tragedy, I'd say, echoing his words. Just a genre shift, friction built. One night, tremors spilling coffee. He snapped, "Stop mothering. I don't need pity notes. It's love, not pity." Hurt flared, but I stayed, brewing fresh. We're in this draft. Claire's ghost resurfaced then. Opportunistic, a supportive call Mason took privately. I overheard fragments. I knew you were fragile. Come home. Stable. Temptations whisper, amplifying his fears. Confrontation brewed over breakfast. She's poison, Mason. Using this to reel you back. She's safe, he admitted, voice small. Predictable plot. And us? Unpredictable joy. I cupped his face, steady despite the shake. Choose the rewrite. He did, blocking her, recommitting to treatment. But the betrayal stung, a reminder that vulnerability invites vultures. Fall circled back, leaves aflame as we attended a Parkinson's support group. His first, my hand in his. Stories shared, dancers defying steps, writers typing one-fingered triumphs. Adaptation, the facilitator said. Not defeat. Inspired, Mason penned a note for me. Trembling script, but true. Levi, my hands may falter, but my heart's steady on you. Co-author forever. I framed it beside my crossroads sketch. The gallery print now. But winter loomed, and with it, the storm's peak. December returned. Snow dusting the sound like powdered sugar on a bitter pill. As Mason's diagnosis wove into our daily script, meds rattling in pockets, exercises strengthening resolve. We celebrated small. His first tremor-free guitar strum, a halting rendition of Hallelujah that had me tearing up over cocoa. See? Music rewrites rigidity, he quipped, fingers dancing tentative. The center thrived. Jamie's mirror inspiring a mural. Queer icons pieced from shards. Leviathan strong. Mom visited. Tentative bridge holding. Dinners at our table. Her eyes widening at Mason's notes. Southern hospitality meets Yankee scribbles. She even joined a PFLAG meeting. Whispering post-hug. He's a keeper, son. Writes you right, but Harmony's fragile spine snaps under weight. Claire's final gambit struck Christmas week. A certified letter to Mason's lawyer, alleging emotional coercion in the divorce, demanding alimony hike with new evidence of his instability. Attached, pilfered ER notes. His collapse twisted into proof of unfitness. Fury ignited. We lawyered up, but the smear leaked hospital whispers. Elena's tense updates. Gossips a virus. He's cleared, but morale's tanking. Mason withdrew. Shifts cut. Days lost to what-ifs. What if I'm broken goods? He'd murmur, staring at hands that betrayed him. You're whole to me. The counter, massaging stiffness, but isolation crept, a thief in the narrative. New Year's Eve, under balcony fireworks, resolve hardened. No more reacting, I declared, clinking glasses. We author the close. January thawed the rift. Mason returned part-time, specializing in neurology, irony embraced, helping patients like his future self. Claire's suit crumbled, fabricated claims exposed. Her retreat final, a footnote faded. Yet the true climax brewed internal. A flare-up, tremors escalating during a routine consult. Elena's verdict, aggressive variant. Trials available, experimental, risky. Mason paced our shared living room. Merged leases now, boxes unpacked like commitments. What if it fails? What if I drag you down? Then we fall together. I blocked his path, hands on his. Your notes taught me, endings aren't endings. They're pivots. He searched my face, fear yielding to fire. Marry me. Now. Before the plot twists again. Kneeling clumsy. Ring from his pocket, a simple band. Engraved co-authors. He proposed anew. Levi. Rewrite forever with me. Tears blurred. Yes exploded. A vow etched in vulnerability. Wedding was small. Human. City Hall steps under April showers. Mom beaming ringside. Jamie best man with a sketch of us as intertwined trees. Vows unpolished. I choose your scars. Your shakes. Your steady heart. Rings exchanged. Kisses sealing amid cheers. Honeymoon. A cabin in the Olympics. Trails gentle. Nights wrapped in whispers. This is the epilogue? He joked, tracing my jaw scar. Nah. Open-ended. Best kind. Back home. Life layered. Mason's trial meds stabilized. Hands regaining grace. My graphic firm boomed. Queer campaigns rippling change. Mom's visits warmed. Her own rewrite. Volunteering at Tennessee PFLAG. Pamphlets burned in a backyard right. Years folded like well-loved pages. Anniversaries marked with notes evolving. His script steadier. Mine bolder. Challenges came. Flares. Family echoes, but we met them co-edited. Therapy our red pen. One dusk. On Rattlesnake Ledge. Anniversary hike. His gate sure with cane. I pulled files from my pack. Our originals. Annotated anew. Look. From trauma to triumph. He read. Wind tousling curls graying at temples. We did that. Together. Below. Seattle sprawled. Lights winking like endorsements. In that vista, I saw it. Not a closed book, but an infinite series. Betrayals mended. Conflicts conquered. Love not a draft but the living text. And in the quiet, as eagle cried overhead, I knew the story we lived by wasn't rewritten once. It was endlessly, beautifully revised by hands intertwined, hearts unyielding.